What we're going to talk about today is a new micro-philanthropy website that's just a little more than a year old, and kind of what's happened with that site, the development of that site, where we're at with the site right now. And we have a little video, pitch videos of the artists who have, many of whom posted projects on the site and raised money successfully that we'll end with, and then we'd be delighted to take your questions. And we're sort of a sandwich. I'll start, Amada comes in the middle, and then I'll finish up. This is a map from our website. So this is, in this particular slide, images of the work of USA Fellows, artists who have gotten our $50,000 awards. Next slide. So we're here to talk about USA Projects, our new micro-philanthropy website, and we are happy to be at IAIA. Next. So this afternoon, I'm going to do a little history of United States artists, give you an overview of what we do and the website. Mada will do the demo of the website, and then we'll end with a little progress report before we take your questions. Next. So where does USA come from? We are a direct response to the loss of public funding for artists that took place in the 1990s. And I think best demonstrated by our National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship Program, which begins in the early 1970s. It was actually launched by Nancy Hanks, who was a Nixon appointee, which I think is always very interesting. And its greatest growth occurred during her time at the NEA. In the 70s. In the 80s, the amount of money that's going to artists across the country is between $8 and $8.9 million. Next image. And then this is what happens with the culture wars. So right here, from 6.7 million down to 1.5 million, that occurred in 1994 when Newt Gingrich's contract with America sort of changed the face of what was happening politically in Washington, D.C. And there was a symbolic moment, without having to take a lot of money out of the budget, to say, you know, the arts are bad, and this is a waste of our tax dollars, and artists shouldn't be supported by us. And so we have stepped into this void created by the National Endowment for the Arts, the loss in funding for individual artists. Next slide. We were founded by 4 women. Interestingly, we have a room of almost all women today. 4 women who headed major foundations in the country. Susan Beresford at the Ford Foundation, Judy Roden at the Rockefeller Foundation, Diane Kaplan at the Rasmussen Foundation, who some of you know, and Gabriella Morris from the Prudential Foundation. They commissioned research from 2000 to 2003 to just take a snapshot. What was happening with artists in America post this sort of drop of funding at the NEA? And, sure enough, they found out it was a really tough time for artists. Artists needed proper places to work, proper places to live. They needed access to inexpensive health insurance. They needed validation, because that national seal of approval, you're an NEA fellow, was now gone. And they needed access to grant monies. And we were created to sort of attack those last 2 items, the validation and access to money. So those founders committed $22 million in seed funding, and we launched in 2005. Next. Our mission is to invest in America's finest artists and illuminate the value of artists to society. And that illumination thing comes from a very weird statistic that came out of that research I just mentioned, where we learned that while 96% of Americans value the arts, only 27% value artists. Weird disconnect here, right? Because art comes from artists. So what we mean by that is once we, with our fellowship program, give an award to an artist, we also there's a PR campaign that is every single artist is surrounded by, so that they're getting hometown newspaper articles, hometown hero, they're getting visibility in their disciplines, in their communities. So we try really hard to sort of boost them up once they get our grants. Next. Signature program, this is the program Amada runs, called USA Fellows. Each year, our organization gives 50 artists from all across the country grants of $50,000 each. That's a $2.5 million annual investment. We had our 6th class of winners, was just announced last December. In total, there are 317 artists. The reason that's a funny number is 17 have been collaboratives. Husband-wife team, brothers, partners. And that's a $15 million investment that we have now made through this program, USA Fellows. Our ultimate goal is to raise money to permanently endow that program. Because as we were doing our research creating United States artists, we realized the National Endowment for the Arts is not an endowment. It's money they have to go in every 2 years on their knees and beg for, and it's always money that continues to be decreased or flat. We wanted to create a permanent endowment that would support artists forever, and our goal is $50 million to have all 50 of those awards underwritten, and so that for 100 years and beyond, people will have access to this funding. That campaign has just begun, and we've raised $10 million to date, so we're 25% of the way to our goal. And there's Chuck Zimmer, the fabulous Chuck has just arrived. Welcome. Next. So about 3 years ago, we started thinking about, are there other ways that we can expand our mission to really be meaningful for artists? And we learned, we do research with our USA Fellows, and we learned that 91% of our artists who get our grants use the money to create new work. And we thought, well, that's interesting. And as we talked to our fellows, we learned, your grants are great, and thanks so much, but when that money's spent, I'm back on the street raising, shilling for whatever I can do to get projects done. And that the fundraising challenge is a constant challenge for working artists. I'm seeing nodding heads, you all know this well. So we started doing some research, and we made some observations. And at the time we were doing our research, we witnessed, like everyone in the world, the rise of the social network and the rise of online microphilanthropy. We were also tracking some interesting consumer trends where we learned right now that people want to be together. It's called hiving in the consumer trend world. They want to be together. They're in book groups. They're doing cooking classes. They're in travel groups. Rather than sort of in the old days we wanted to hang out in our home, now people want to be together. There's another term that we thought was interesting, which is called looping. I want to be in the loop. I want to know what's going on. I want the latest trends. I want to know what's happening, all the things I care about. And of course, the internet is such a wonderful facilitator of that. And then we also, just in the work we do, we're fundraisers. And so we study philanthropic trends. And there's some great data on philanthropy in this country right now. Annually in this country, $300 billion is given a year to all kinds of causes in the nonprofit sector. Of that $300 billion, 5% comes from corporations, 5 to 7% comes from kind of the big foundations, the Ford and Rockefellers. Nearly 90% comes from individual donors. That's people like you and me, giving $5 here, $10 there, $25 for a bike-a-thon. So the power of that, knowing that there are individuals who are the largest resource for philanthropy in this country, was very inspiring to us as we kind of thought about how can we sort of step into this world. And so we combined all those ideas and we said, can we do something to help support artists? And the answer was, of course, yes. Next slide. So USA Projects, it is an online community made up of accomplished artists and those who support and follow them. So we want this to be a place where you can discover new work, where you can support artists for as little as $1, and where you can connect. So there's a kind of social network that hums underneath USA Projects where you can connect with anybody within our website. Next slide. How are we different? In particular from Kickstarter. People hear a lot about Kickstarter, but there are other artist websites that are out there. First of all, we are open to accomplished artists in the United States. So if you've won a grant, a fellowship, a residency as an artist for your work, you're allowed to come into the website. All of our donations are tax deductible. Kickstarter is a for-profit enterprise, so that is a business that one day will be sold for gajillions of dollars. You make a gift to the United States Artist website, to USA Projects, that's a tax deductible gift. And then we also have very robust matching funds available, and we have a little announcement we'll be making at the end of our show today about one of those match funds, which I think will interest at least some of you. Next slide. And now I turn it over to Ms. Cruz, who will step in and take you through the site.
All right, here's a demo. I'm going to go a little bit slower through some of this because I think this is probably the meat of what you're all interested in, how to get onto the site. So next slide, please.
And what's your name?
Sorry, Amada Cruz.
Amada.
Amada, Cruz. All right, so here's a landing page for USA Projects, as you can see on the top left, and you are an artist and you want to get in there. You could either support one of your friends or somebody who you know is raising money, and you just click on that little support rectangle on the left. Or you want to enroll. You have a project, you have a documentary film you want to raise money for, you click on enroll. You go on to your next page. Oh, next, thank you. Okay, go ahead and enroll here. It is free. So what you do is then enroll, you go into this little the social partners, to make sure that you qualify to get into the site. Now, there is a very long list of residencies and awards, and that you can go in, and if you've gotten one of those awards, have had one of those residencies, then you can automatically just go right in and enroll. Otherwise, if we've missed one of the awards, and there are many out there, so we're actually learning from artists who are getting into the site, you just go ahead and put in the name of the award that you've gotten or the residency, and then we do a little research, and if it's all fine, then you can go ahead and we add it to the list of eligible awards or residencies. So you go right ahead, press submit, and then you're in the site. Next slide, please. All right, so here we have the artist enrollment page, a little more detail, and this scrolls down and gives you in alphabetical order of all of those awards that I was talking about.
And there are about 300 awards that are already.
And we're always adding. So.
Always adding.
Keep going, please. Next slide. All right, now here we have the partners page. This is very interesting because what we've been very good at is raising money for, sorry, I'm going ahead of myself here, partners page. These are the particular nonprofit organizations with which we have partnerships. And that means, for instance, you see under the artist name CCF Fellow, that's the California Community Foundation. So the California Community Foundation has gone out and contacted all of their awardees and said, hey, there's a special site where you can raise money for your program, for your projects, and then we have developed a partnership with them, which very often involves matching funds. So if you are in a particular geographic location or discipline area, you take a little bit of, look through the site under the matching funds, you can see if you qualify for some free money, which is pretty great. Okay, next slide, please. All right, here we have an artist profile page. So we have the artist, Dominique Moody, on the left, and she's gone ahead and put up all her information, and you can see that she has an external link. So her own website, you can click onto that and go onto her website, or any other sites that she may have or be affiliated with. And then the picture can also be a video, and underneath it is a description that she puts together about what she's all about as an artist. Next, please. Okay, here we have a showcase where you've got Dana Hansen over on the left, and then you have an excerpt of a piece that she did of a dance theater piece, and then underneath there's a whole description about what that is. And you can see that if you like Dana and her work and you want to send her a message, you can just click on message up there, send a message directly to her, or you can follow Dana. You can either, so you don't even have to give her money just to follow her. You can go ahead and do that and support her in that way. Next, please. Okay, here's the project page. This is sort of the most important in terms of raising money. So the project page is where you as an artist put up your pitch. And there are two ways of putting up a pitch. One of them, two elements. One of them is a pitch video, which you can see is going to be right there. And when you enroll onto the site and go through one of our orientation sessions, you then work with one of the special sort of coaches that we have on staff, and they help you put together your pitch video. There's a lot of experience behind this, so they can tell you, hey, you need to put the ask up front, you need to make it shorter, you need to make it more clear, that kind of thing. So you put together this video. It's usually about 2 minutes long, and it's really you saying, I want to do this film, and I need to raise X amount of money, and in this case, I want to raise $4,000, and this is what I want it for, and let me show you some cuts of the film. So it's a really quick and direct way of explaining what your project is. Then, of course, there's a narrative, which actually would start down here, about the project, which goes straight down. Again, quite succinct, but explaining, again, very, very clearly what is your project, what are you trying to raise money for, and how much you're trying to raise. So if someone like me comes in and reads the pitch and looks at your video and decides that I really like it, I can just go right here, support this project, just click on that button, and then that puts me into the whole very easy support strategy, how to give money to your project. Next, please.
I want to mention just the tweeters and
yeah, if you want, there's a very robust social networking capability as well. So you can share this information with all your friends so that everybody gets enthusiastic about this project and gives lots of money to the project through all those different ways. You know, email, Dig, whatever, anything you can think of, you can link. Next, please. And here we give a donation. Okay, so I like this project. I'm going to give a donation. I can just enter in my pledge, and it can be $1. Give me $4. Give me $5.
Give me $1 million.
Or if you decide, or, yes, of course, or if you decide that you want to just, you want a perk, these are actual perks that the artist decides that they want to give. So let's say you're making a film, and for $20, you are going to send a one-time thank you e-postcard to your donors with a picture from a still of the film. That's a possibility. We try to really encourage people to give digital perks, because otherwise it's a lot of work, to send out, DVDs to people. You gotta figure out how to do that yourself. So it's much easier to just give away digital things. Also, this isn't really about getting stuff, This is really about engaging your public. Someone like me who gives money on the site, $20, I really just want emails letting me know what it is that you're doing. I just went on site and we filmed this one excerpt. So it's really, again, about engaging your public and building your base of support. Next, please. Next, please. All right, so here are your project supporters. If your project supporters do not want to be anonymous, if they want to put up their picture, then they can go ahead and add themselves to this sort of scroll of your supporters, and anyone can go in and check out who they are. And on the right, you see here again the list of pledges, just in case you want to go back and re-pledge and get a new gift, a new pledge, a new perk. Next, please. What's the benefit to you to do this? Well, the first one is to showcase your work. There's an audience that's going to be going to USA Project's site, so it'll be a new audience for you to be able to show your work beyond your own website, which of course you can link to, as I said before. You're going to be able to generate donations for your work. That's really what the site is all about, and we have found that people go on and once they film one portion of something, they'll very often go back and film, let's say, phase 2 of the same project or a different project. So we have had people come in and do multiple projects on the site because you have a base of support. You've got those people who have already given you money once, and you've got another project coming on, you go back to them, and hopefully they'll give you money again, which very often happens, actually. Get match funds. Again, there's a whole match fund program. Some of them are geographically based. We have the first match fund was from an artist. Artists, as you know, are very generous. So we had one of our board members who's an artist who sold a painting, and he put a bunch of money into this site. It's the Artist to Artist Fund. And so artists who have projects can then draw matching funds from that. So that's a wonderful feature that we're always adding to. Build your database of donors. This is very, very important. These are your people. These are the people who are going to support you hopefully throughout your career, through your engagement with them. They're going to be happy about what you're doing, excited about it. They're going to want to give you another $20 for your next project. And it's also something that will increase. You're participating in this community. It's a really wonderful community of some very, very special, significant artists across the country. And these are all also artists that work in virtually every artistic discipline, which also is an exciting thing. And we've actually seen that artists are giving to each other and jumping across disciplines. If a filmmaker likes a dancer, oh my God, then they support that. So that's it's an ongoing, growing community of artists supporting artists as well. Next, please. Artist services. There's a onboarding, which is the first step, which means you enroll and then you get an orientation session, which tells you how this whole thing works and gives you some idea of the schedule. Then there's a pitch video, as I mentioned before. You work with someone that helps you put together your pitch video, makes it very succinct and very clear and effective. Then there's the project description, which again is a few paragraphs, 3 paragraphs long. That's it. Again, very succinct. Someone helps you figure that out as well. How are you going to present this project for funding? Then there's also the deadline and goal setting. So you do get advice about that. And again, there's over a year's worth, about a year and a half worth of experience. For a particular monetary goal, how many weeks do you need? Generally, these are about 6 to 8 week long campaigns. And there is a deadline as well. So you have to meet your goal amount by a particular deadline to get the money. And the reason is that there's a certain psychology. You really need urgency. So let's say you're only I don't know, $2,000 away from your goal, and it's a $5,000 goal, you send out at the end to all your friends and say, hey, just pitch in another $10. If this many of you give me another $10, then I'll make my goal. So that urgency is a very important part of the success of raising money online. Perks, yes, I talked a little about those. So you do have someone who helps you figure out what the perks are, and also to just explain what it is that how to think about them. What are some perks that have been particularly exciting to people, because we do monitor that kind of thing. The use of the social networking tools, of course, mentioned that as well. You can click onto any of those, send it around the ether, and then your ongoing contact during fundraising. We actually you are assigned somebody who actually sticks with you the entire 6 to 8 weeks, helping you figure out the strategy for fundraising and helping you figure out, for instance, what niche markets you go to. You're a dancer in Oregon, there's this group, why don't you send them an email, that kind of thing. So there's actually quite a bit of training and coaching that goes along with this site. Next, please. All right.
Si se puede? Is that how you say that?
Si se puede.
Si se puede. It is possible. Let me tell you a little bit about where we're at today with the site. Go ahead. Right now, there are over 1,200 artists who have enrolled and have pages on the site. 400 of those artists have posted projects. We've had 600,000 visits. There are almost 20,000 active members of the community. So these people have come in, signed up, they have a presence on the site. Of that 19,600, next slide, 13,700 are donors. So in a little more than a year, we've got almost 14,000 people who've made gifts, which is kind of wonderful. We're really proud of this statistic. 75% of all the projects on the site fund. Kickstarter's 45%. So we have a very high completion rate. The average project size is a little over $9,000. The average donation is $123. Now, in other sites, it's around $25. So the way I look at this, I spend a lot of time working in art museums. It feels to me like this is the profile of a museum member or a theater ticket subscriber, someone for whom, making a $100, $200 gift is not a big deal. So we're seeing this as an average, which I just think is fantastic. 2 weeks ago, we crossed the $2 million line. So $2 million in gifts that have been settled have come into the site. 300 recognized organizations, as Amata showed you, these are the organizations for whom their awards are on our website, and artists are eligible to come into the site if they've won those awards or those residencies or grants. We've raised $360,000 in matching funds so far, and we've got lots of proposals in a variety of places around the country for additional match funds. Next. I want to talk to you a little bit about our matching fund program, and I'll take you through these three. Right here on the right, real simple, a donor in New York loves commissioning new music. She put up a $20,000 fund, and artists who are associated with the American Composers Forum in Minneapolis, or MATA, which is Music at the Anthology in Brooklyn, an organization funded by Philip Glass, or if they've won either of those awards, they're eligible to come in and get up to $1,000 from this matching fund. The Rasmussen Foundation in Alaska, some of you know that organization, they fund only projects in the state of Alaska from their winners of their Artist Fellowship Awards. So we just posted this. This is a $25,000 fund that just launched, I think, a week ago. And then we have the Artist to Artists Fund. So let's go to the next page. This is probably the most interesting fund that we've got up. As Amata said, Mark Bradford, a member of our board, is a painter. He sold a painting for $100,000, and he established this fund. And now other artists have come in and put money into that fund. So what's interesting is it funds every single project in the site. So if you go into the site and you post a project, you will be supported by other artists. Now, the fund is at $151,000. So far, $118,000 has been put into projects that has matched 1,400 donations with a total impact of over $1.5 million. So 10 times the match size we have now raised in the site for project funds, which just is really a thrill for us. Next slide. This is a different kind of fund. This is a fund out of Austin, Texas, where a woman we met there, her son was involved in the film community there. We had a partnership with the Austin Film Society. And she said, I want to support artists locally. What could we do? And she established a $60,000 matching fund, and that was about a little over a year ago now. And that is now $54,000 has been funded. It supported 18 films. And in this case, you can get up to $2,500 if you're a filmmaker through the Austin Film Society. It's matched 447 donations. Every project has met its goal, and the total impact is $260,000. So again, you see, $60,000 has brought in, $260,000. So there's this really nice multiplier effect. Feel free to come in if you like. You got plenty of space. Next. Next slide. And this is just a little dance around the country, just to show you kind of where artists have been involved with USA Projects and the kinds of projects that are being posted. So these are the films from the Austin Film Society. Next. Projects from New Orleans, North Carolina, the Penland School of Craft. We're very involved with that organization. Next. Philadelphia, a lot of artists there because of the Pew Charitable Trusts. New York City. Next. Chicago. Alaska, again, close relationship with Rasmussen up there. Next. Seattle. Next. San Francisco, Bay Area, of course, many artists in that area. Next. Our own hometown, we live in Los Angeles, so we've got LA artists involved. And finally, Santa Fe. Several artists in Santa Fe have put up projects and raised money successfully already. Next slide. So USA Projects is free to join. And here's how we work together. We have what we call our fundraising share, so that 81% of all dollars goes directly to the artist. 19% comes to USA, and this is what it pays for. 3% covers the inevitable credit card and bank processing fees. 7% covers that training and support that Amanda told you about. 9% comes back to USA's bottom line, investing in the best artists in the country. And people say to me, if you put up a project, will you be eligible for a USA Fellowship? And of course the answer is no, but we do know that we invite our nominators to come and look at the site and see there may be artists whose work they don't know about that might interest them. And we had a great coincidence this year, which was that 4 artists who had posted projects on the site did win our fellowship. So there was a nice little linkage there. Next. Potential. The potential of the website is huge. We know the next 5 years that if the site continues to track on its current metrics, that millions of dollars will be given to artists for their projects. And this is money not currently getting into your hands. Again, if we're successful, 75,000 donors will have supported those projects. And then all those donors have a direct connection to the artist. Next slide. Next slide. And this is, we're out doing what we call roadshows. So today's presentation is one of many that we're doing all around the country. Reaching out to the arts community, presenting in communities large and small, getting the word out about what we're doing at USA Projects. And we do this in partnership with great organizations like the School of Advanced Research and IAIA. We do a lot of work with social networks and social media. So when projects go up on the site, we often, once a week, there's a email that will go out. These projects about to fund, check them out, and there'll be 3 projects. That then takes you into the website, and we're working with the artists to get their projects socialized throughout the internet. So if you're a dance artist, choreographer, we're going to the dance sites. If you're a filmmaker, we're going to places where filmmakers are hanging out, or film donors might be hanging out. So we're constantly sort of pushing into those worlds. And the artists have been super helpful telling us where we should be going, which we found super helpful. And then we also are introducing the site to a variety of donor groups around the country. Next. USA Projects needs you. I would encourage you to enroll in the USA Projects community. Even if you don't want to put up a project right now, come in, test the water, see what you think. Give an artist $25. And then you may also know of potential partners for us for USA Projects. What awards are out there that might not be on our list of partners already, who might be interesting people to give awards that might invite them into our website? We want our projects to outreach to their artists that they're involved with, and many of them have now hosted demos with us coming in. And please help us spread the word. Word of mouth, I think, is our most powerful tool for the website. And we thank you. And Maud and I are happy to take your questions. Questions? Yeah.
I was at a creative capital workshop here in Santa Fe just a while ago, and while we were just, having a kind of a time when people were networking and talking to each other, some people talked about USA, and immediately everyone started comparing statistics.
Right.
And how things work.
Right.
Like, okay, for example, our fiscal sponsor is the San Francisco Film Society.
Right.
And that's mostly because Melinda's from New York and I'm from San Francisco originally, so that's who we chose. They're kind of closer. So we automatically get an Indiegogo account. We haven't used it yet, but you kind of get that.
Right.
But people in this creative capital, which were mostly artists in Santa Fe, started comparing the numbers of Indiegogo, Kickstarter, USA,
right.
and then someone there, I think it was Deborah Anderson, who is being funded by you guys. Her project is being sponsored by you, said, well, actually, you have to look at the USA numbers differently. She said it so fast I didn't really understand. Something about numbers and the way that they added up, and then we went right back into a session. But the way she said it wasn't exactly this, it wasn't exactly adding these numbers, but that if you reach your goal, this happens and this happens. So
well, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So what we tell the artists, so say you want to raise $10,000.
Right.
We say, since we're going to take 19%, add 20% onto your goal. So make it a $12,000 goal. And then up goes the project, and 75% of the artists hit their goal. So let's say you're one of the artists who does $12,000. What we also know happens is people typically go over their goal. And in fact, those artists who fund on the site, 75%, they go to 114% of their goal. So you're 10,000, then you're at 12, now you're at 114%. So whatever that is, that delta, you take out the 20%, so you're actually getting more than the 10 that you wanted at the beginning, which is kind of interesting. Also, we really did a lot of research with our own fellows when we started the site, and what we heard kind of universally was we want a peer organization. We want to be in a place where there's a lot of schlocky artist websites on the internet. We want to be in a place where we're seeing our peers. And so a lot of people say, why don't you just let anyone in? And Kickstarter lets anyone in, and other sites let anyone in. And we wanted to be a little bit different. We wanted to have I think of, Kickstarter as kind of a Kmart, and we're sort of this little boutique. And, we hope we have 5,000 artists on the site in our first 5 years. And, Kickstarter has 17,000 projects on at any one moment right now. So it's a very different kind of thing. Hey, they're putting a lot of money in artists' hands. We love that. That's fantastic. But we just think we have something unique to offer to artists. So, other questions? Yeah?
Is there any funding available through this organization for like a local or regional artists association for a large-scale project that would benefit artists who are members of the association, or is it just
like a collaborative kind of project?
Yeah, one thing that we're talking about in our region with a couple of artists.
Tell everybody where you live.
I live in Keene, New Hampshire. So I probably win the prize for having come the
farthest.
Okay,
just for this event, she came out with She's here.
Well, there were a few other moving parts, but no, I'm at an artist residency program in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. But I'm on the executive committee of our local artist association in Keene, New Hampshire, and we're talking about the need for a space, and there are a lot of old industrial buildings. There was, like old woolen mills and stuff in our town.
Yeah,
we're talking about maybe, probably many of you have heard of the torpedo factory in Alexandria, Virginia. Something like on a much, much smaller scale. But the need for a place to have gallery space and studio space for members. And I just don't know. This seems to be, from what I've heard so far, it seems to be based on the individual artist.
It is more focused on individual for sure, and we would ask in a case like that, someone takes the lead. So that person is an award-winning artist, and I'm part of a collaborative, and all of our names are on the description or whatever, and we're trying to raise $20,000 to do the development of a new site or something. But that you are taking, one person is taking the lead in this. Now, what you have to think about is that check that comes from us goes directly to you, and that is taxable income.
Yeah,
so are you, and in some cases, artists have a 501c3 set up, so, the Ron Brown Dance Company, they just put it right in their 501c3. Other artists have it going directly to them. So, and we'll be issuing tax paperwork on the end of the year on all that to the proper place. So you just have to think about that. But there have been collaboratives that have come into the site.
Should there be like multiple members who have won awards and
All putting up projects. You could do it either way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Yeah? Yes, please.
How has USA tapped into the international market?
We really haven't. We get asked that question a lot, and people have even said, called us from the Netherlands and Australia and Bermuda. Someone's like, you've got to let Bermuda artists into your site. It's, the organization was really designed to address issues facing artists in America right now, and the site is really just you have to be an American resident or legal
resident and be working in the United States.
Right, and it's the same rules as our USA Fellowship Program, in fact. It gets very complicated with the tax laws and currencies when you start going internationally. That's not to say we might never do it, but we want to establish this as a strong American brand first. Yeah, anybody else? Yes, please.
A question about some of the qualifications to be enrolled. So you mentioned to be the recipient of an award.
Can you speak up?
Yeah. Does it have to be a national award or?
No, it could be local, regional.
State, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of awards? Question was, do they have to be national award-winning artists that come into the site? And the answer is no. We have artists at all different levels in the country, residency winners that are local, people who've been received grants from a local arts organization are invited into the site. Now, I have a special friend I want to introduce to you all. I'm not sure if you all know Chuck Zimmer, who's sitting right here. Chuck hosted our last visit to Santa Fe through the New Mexico Arts Commission. And would you like to make your little announcement?
Well, we still have a couple hurdles with paperwork.
Yeah, we're
getting a slight snag in paperwork, but we are finalizing putting New Mexico Arts Art in Public Places program as one of the matching fund partners for USA projects, and we'll match funds that are by New Mexico artists that have a public component to the end result.
And that's a $25,000
Right, and it's $25,000.
And that'll probably go up in the next week or so, we're hoping.
Hopefully,
we're just trying to get it's a kill the lawyers moment. It's like trying to get that all figured out, but we'll get it figured out.
As soon as the lawyers agree with each other.
Exactly.
It's a done thing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We're super grateful for Chuck. How many of you are New Mexico residents? Nice. And how many of you have a public component to your work? A handful. Okay. Will you show the work that you're doing in New Mexico in some way? Yeah. Just know that funds are going to be available to you hopefully very shortly. Other questions? Anybody else? Yes.
I'm just curious, and I'm sure a lot depends on how ready you are in terms of your pitch and everything, but just a sense of from, say, when you enroll or from the moment when you're accepted to when you actually launch, about how long?
Questions about timing. Yeah. So how much time does it take to, get a project up and running? It really depends on the artist and how ready they are, frankly. Some artists are like, boom, they're up in 2 weeks. Some take a longer period of time. Some we've also seen develop a project, but for timing purposes, sort of post it 6 months later. Like maybe they're on tour and they want to wait till they're back, or there are a whole lot of reasons. But and then the timing of the projects, the sweet spot we've found is 6 weeks. So we had some people doing about a month long, and that seemed too rushed, and going longer than 6 weeks seemed too slow and sort of endless. We've learned now, in a little over a year doing this, 6 weeks tends to be the best amount of time. And what's been interesting about our match funds is I worked in museums for 12 years, and we had what we called the museums, the exhibition program, the tent pole phenomenon. So that was, an exhibition opens, and everybody comes, it's great, and then the attendance drops down, and that's going to close, and everybody comes, and it's going to be great. And we're seeing that also in the projects, so that artists post projects, a lot of money comes in, then there's a lull, a lot of money comes in at the end. We also learned that if you put up a project, if you are at 50% of your goal within 3 days of closing, you always go over. Interesting statistic. So we thought, okay, how do we help the artist get to that 50%? So that artist-to-artist fund that I talked about, Mark Bradford's fund, you have to get to 25% of your goal before that fund kicks in. So that's kind of nice because you kind of get your friends all jumping in, and all of a sudden, boom, you're at 25%. You've got something to tell all your donors. I'm now eligible for this match. Boy, think about increasing your gift. Or, Uncle John, you didn't support me last time. Maybe you can do it this time. So it just helps you build momentum. And as Amada talked, this is something, to me, one of the most important parts of the site is this idea of you are building an ever-increasing database of your donors. So you're inviting people in, and they are supporting you. And what we know from philanthropic statistics is people get excited, they love making gifts, it makes them feel really good, and if you ask them again, they'll give you money. And there's a very weird statistic, which is the best time to ask someone for money is right after they've given you a gift. And we've seen this time and again in our website, and I've done it myself. So someone's, I've given them $100, and they're like, within a day of reaching their goal, and it's like, you gotta help me, I just need another $20, please. And so, oh, sure, of course, because you've been excited, you've already supported them. So you do that again. Okay, that project is done. Okay, you submit a simple final report to us, then you can put up your next project. So this is not a one-off thing. We want you to use this as a tool for the rest of your career. We want this to be a place where you can be going to those donors and reaching out to them, and that is an increasing database of people supporting your work. We also know in philanthropy that giving grows with age. So as people get older, that $25 donor today could be a $100 donor in 5 years, could be a $1,000 donor in 10 years. So keeping in touch with these people and regularly communicating to them makes that personal connection that keeps that sort of excitement about your work alive. And the way I describe it is, the artist will give an update. I'll get that on my phone. And so it's like, oh, Judith Schachter in Philadelphia, what's happened? Oh, wow, she just finished the first round of her stained glass windows. Now, do you see what's happened? I'm holding this next to my heart. I'm like connected. I'm excited about what she's doing. I can then send her a message. Judith, fantastic. I hope I can come to Philadelphia and see what you're doing. So she's facilitating this ongoing communication that connects me with her. And I've supported about 50 projects on the site now, and I have a connection with all these different artists now. And I keep hearing, every day I get a couple little announcements like, we're going to be, in this town, come and meet us if you're there, So there's that networking component that the site facilitates so beautifully for artists and lets you talk about your work and, in a really, I think, comfortable setting. So other questions? Yeah.
For people that have, say very large projects or ambitious projects that are costly, do you have any numbers for how many people have so far within?
Good question.
Done, sequential?
We've had the smallest project on the site, I think, has been about $2,000. The largest has been $50,000, and that was a filmmaker out of Austin, Texas. We know that larger projects will come onto the site over time. But we think in sort of early years that someone says, I want to raise $100,000, we're trying to get them to break it up. Development phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, whatever, editing, whatever, so that and several artists have done that successfully, I think, actually. Some have put their projects up 3 times already, so that has worked. Yes?
I had a question. When you were showing the artist profile page up there, so I saw how you can use the social networks to share that particular page, but since we couldn't see the whole page, is there an affordance besides the website to put all the social networks that an artist already has?
Yes. Okay. That's all available to you.
Okay,
We're very sophisticated on social networking tools. Great. Yeah, it's great. And we also, that idea of all the websites you're connected to, so a lot of artists sell their work. Well, boom, here's my gallery, or buy my tunes on iTunes, or go to Amazon and get my books. Right. All those links are available to you, and the visitor bounces out to Amazon, buys your book, and then can bounce back into the website, which is kind of great, actually. We love that. We wanted artists to be able to have this sort of commerce element to their profiles on our website. Any other questions? Yeah?
I got here late, so I really didn't see the whole
I'll
thing.
do it again.
Yeah, that's great. Is this all kinds of artists?
Yes, all disciplines. All disciplines.
So what if you're like, I'm a jewelry artist and I've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I do shows and I've been in many galleries. So how do you put a presentation what is...
We teach you. We teach you how to do it. So we have a whole team back in LA, and what's so great about our team in LA, they're all artists. So they really understand how to talk to their peers, and they take you through putting up a pitch video, what it needs to have, how long it needs to be. They'll help you with the editing. They'll take you through how to develop your own project description, a short description. They'll help you with your goal setting. They'll help you set up perks. So we've got a whole group of people in LA who are just dying to connect with you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're all in their 20s, and they're all one more handsome than the next. So it's a really nice group of people on that team.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anybody else? Yeah.
What about other artists promoting other artists or dance performers? In other words, if I was to promote another artist who was just getting started, because we've been in this business for about 30 years or so,
Right.
our own particular.
Yeah.
Or if there was a venue that was available in which we were attending, well, let's say, for example, it opened up other possibilities for other artists, in particular dance performers,
Right.
to come in, but we couldn't personally pay them to come and perform at these
So you
venues.
say you want to produce something that would feature younger dancers? Is that what you're...
Well, actually, to give them a venue or to have them at least have that opportunity to perform.
Yeah, we've definitely seen activities like that, where
Okay.
someone, an artist who's won awards has, created a space where people can work, or we had an artist who raised money for a kiln for a church basement in Philadelphia for the local community to learn how to learn about ceramics. So there are examples of that, definitely. As long as you, as the lead, have won the award, and you know that the money is going to you, or to a
Right.
501c3.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes? My wonderful host.
The award requirement, since I know a lot of artists around here have been juried into a lot of art markets
Yes.
and so forth, does being juried into these types of markets
Yes.
count as an award?
Yes.
So you get to send your resume, because it could be...
I think we don't ask for resume, do
You
we?
don't send your resume. What I would urge you to do is to go onto the site. Sorry.
And just hit enroll. There's a big enroll
Go onto the
button.
site and just hit enroll, and then you get a lot of information that way. So a lot of your questions will be answered
Yeah,
that
but
way.
for a lot of us, our resume is a big speaker, I mean, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, we don't require resumes.
We don't
We
require.
don't want to look at your resume. We just want you to say, hey, I won this award, and then you link
You can come
to
in.
the site and so we can just verify it. Oh, look, she did win the award. Great, she's in.
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
It's actually much simpler than when you think.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah,
Very
it's much
simple.
simpler. Yeah, it's not like a sort of regular grant application.
So is this a site that you're selling things on, or just raising money?
Not selling, but you can link to your galleries and spaces where you're selling your own work.
Go to UnitedStatesArtists.org, and then you go into projects, and that'll give you all the information that we've just been through.
Oh, that's great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sure.
Sure. Yes. Take one
There's
more
a
question.
there's a young artist in Abiquiu who just got accepted to Stanford.
Yay.
So she's on spring break. She just came back. I just saw her at a gallery thing on Sunday. At that gallery thing, she asked us if we would volunteer as in-kind in production, because she's applying for something at Stanford for freshmen where they get $3,000 to do a project. And she
Okay.
gets it. She gets to do that next summer, as opposed to working at a store or a restaurant like she did last summer.
Right.
So in doing that, we're kind of helping her in kind. Could she post, enroll and post, and if she gets that $3,000 Stanford award, she would just tell you if she didn't have it up there?
Well, if she's won an award,
Yes.
we do see people leveraging other funds. Like I have a matching fund of $3,000 from blah.
Yeah.
If if I raise money in the site, it will help match that fund.
Okay, good.
Some artists have done that.
Right, and
as
then
well.
how do you deal with, not for the award, but for any ways that, say, us as artists and communities help each other, just like he brought up, helping
Yeah.
a young dancer. How do you deal with that in-kind help?
We're not in the in-kind business, really. I mean, I think there's a lot that goes on.
You mean looking for in-kind materials?
No, like this young girl, what we're going to do for Stanford is she's going to be able to list us as people who are going to donate our time and our production and our equipment to her.
Right.
This is really about raising money
Okay,
for
Yeah.
an art project.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we can't.
But you might be able to value what you're doing for her to get her match. You'd have to ask Stanford about
Right,
that. Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
If you could just talk a little bit further about the matching funds now
Yep.
that we know about It's wonderful.
Yay, Chuck
That's
Zimmer's
good.
fund, fabulous fund.
So how does it work? I mean, do you have to reach a certain threshold?
Have we even discussed the details of your fund? What's your plan?
Not in details, but we were thinking that it would actually kick in a little bit on the earlier to help get
Early money, first money in.
That's
Right.
good.
And for, how much check can one artist get? Is 1,000, or are you going to go
I think
higher?
we were saying
1,000, okay,
This
so
first round.
first dollar's in, $1,000. If you live in New Mexico and your work is presented in a public venue, that's your fund.
So you don't have
And then
to
you also
apply
get artist-to-artist money, so you get two funds.
without having to apply on top of it. I mean, it automatically.
Yes,
You meet
it's
all
set up
their
so it's automatic.
Criteria. The only extra criteria we're adding is that there has to be that public, since we're using public art funds for this, the end result has to have some form of a public
Presentation.
presentation.
Yeah.
That's the only
That's
extra
great.
requirement. Otherwise, as long
Isn't that
as
nice?
you're meeting
Yeah.
USA requirements,
What does that mean public then? Is a sculpture that's going to be there or a performance or, I mean, it's.
All the above, right, Chuck?
I mean, even if if you present your jewelry somewhere, I mean.
I would think, of course, right?
Oh, really?
As long as it's in the public and it's accessible to the public.
Oh, that's
So even a coffee shop.
Coffee shop count, Chuck? You gotta ask him, he's your man.
as long as there's a way
Wow.
for the public, without having to
To pay admission. You don't want people to pay
can see
admission.
Can see your work.
can see the end result.
You know, the match funds just automatically
Kick in,
So you
yeah.
don't have to apply. The match funds kick in, but each match fund has particular requirements. So you have to reach 50%, you have to reach 10%, you know, whatever it is.
The donor decides.
Yeah,
The
so
donor
that's why
decides.
it's each, yeah.
Right.
And speaking of donors, please encourage your friends who love supporting artists to come into the site. If you know anyone who would be interested in putting up a matching fund, please let us know, because we're building this all the time. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.